Darth, you there?
Let me check. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. If I'd actually like to talk to you about, again, your Christian worldview, the 6,000-year-old Earth, if you're
Yeah.
willing to.
Yeah.
So last time we talked, we left the question. I left the question off of where the dinosaurs were if they were on the Ark, and then we kind of diverted from that to Neil deGrasse Tyson. So
Yeah. Okay.
I
So
just
yeah. So I don't. Well. First of all, most dinosaurs are not large. Uh, I doubt whether Noah actually took any large adult versions on the ark of large animals like elephants, things like that. Okay. So the reason why you asked the question, when people raise the question about dinosaurs, is because they've already been indoctrinated into the evolutionary dogma about the past. Okay,
okay.
you've been indoctrinated in the interpretation about dinosaurs. They think that dinosaurs, that dinosaurs evolved. Dinosaurs, well, you know what? This is not something that they can demonstrate. Okay,
hmm
okay. So dinosaurs, along with other creatures, uh, maybe they didn't get it. Some of them didn't get aboard the ark. I actually believe that. There were some of the larger dinosaur, the larger adult version of the dinosaur. Let me just rephrase this. Dinosaurs that would grow to large sizes were on the ark, but I don't believe that they were large. I believe that they were at a very young age and brought on there. I don't believe that they reproduced in large enough numbers, otherwise, they'd be here today. That's why we have rumors about dragons in various cultures. Where do you think that came from?
I don't know where they came from.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said that they didn't reproduce fast enough then?
Well, that's typically what makes animals go extinct unless they're wiped out by some other predator.
Uh,
Also, I think that the environmental conditions um, before the flood, the atmospheric pressure was in all likelihood much greater. So the vegetation and even certain animals would have been of larger sizes. After the flood, the atmospheric conditions had degraded from what it used to be. And so this might have been a factor into why they're dead. If you take a look, I was watching a video. Hold on one second. I'll tell you what the name of the video is. And it deal with this very issue of dinosaurs. Let's see. Okay, it's Genesis Apologetics, the YouTube channel. Okay,
hmm
okay, and they have some videos on this, and they deal with the fact that many dinosaur bones are found only within a specific region, in North and South America. So, from a flood uh, point of view, that these creatures all lived within a pretty in a specific region on the earth at the time of the flood.
Yeah.
Okay, or a lot of them did, and or in other words, that their their population disbursement was greater, or the density of their population was greater in these regions than they would be in other parts of the world. And so this is why so many of them got buried in the same area. Okay. So there's no dispute over the data. There is a dispute as to how the data is to be interpreted. Just like I said about like the Grand Canyon, were all these sedimentary layers dispersed? Was it laid down slowly, or was it laid down quickly in a catastrophe?
Yeah. So then
Modern, yeah, yeah.
were
Go ahead.
dinosaurs and people on the same continent then at the time of the flood?
Well, there could have been a situation where we had a kind of Pangea situation.
Okay.
Um, I happen to tend to believe that the rapidly moving plates um, in plate tectonics was a part of the factoring of the worldwide flood.
Okay.
So, do I believe that dinosaurs were present with humans? Yes, I do.
Okay.
So I have a question for you, Darth.
Yeah.
So, do you believe in Noah's Ark, right?
But
Yeah.
There were 100 species on Noah's Ark, right?
I don't know. There were what?
Yeah, you could correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I said, what did you say?
100 species on Noah's Ark.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
All right. But so they say at least, and let's pretend though for a moment that
No,
there
it
were
doesn't say
100
species. He brought on kinds. Kinds are different.
But
Certain kinds of creatures, through many successive generations of reproduction, can result in speciation.
all right.
And so
But
there can be inherent genetic information through reproduction where certain genetic information gets expressed, and then you have speciation, not as per, a Darwinian speciation.
But then my question comes that so it was Noah and his family and species, but there are several 100,000 species. How come that there are 100,000 species, but about
Yeah,
say
you're not
100
you're
more
not
or less on Noah's
you're not
Ark?
understanding. He took representative kinds from certain kinds of animals. Look, we have many different species of bears, but all
That
you
is
would
true.
need to take in is one kind of bear, and inherent within the genetic pool through reproduction and then geographical disbursement, you can have polar bears, you can have grizzly bears, you can have black bears.
And how many years do you think it was since Noah's Ark happened, or the flooding of the world?
I right at the moment I couldn't tell you. Okay,
A million
four or
years?
five, 4 or 5 thousand years.
Okay, so if they brought one kind of bear, then that would be the proof of rapid evolution, wouldn't it?
No,
If you had one kind of bear,
you're
then
not
you
under,
could have
you're not
polar bears.
understanding.
Hold on,
You
Darth.
you're not understanding.
No,
It's
no,
not
but Darth,
evolution in a Darwinian
Darth,
sense. Okay.
Darth, hold on 2 seconds. So, if you had one kind of bear, say black bear, for example, then you have polar bears, you have grizzlies, you have bears in Europe and Eurasia, which doesn't even exist in the North Atlantic, in the Americas.
You're
So
not
can you
understanding.
explain to me? No,
Yeah,
Darth,
yeah,
wait 2 seconds. So can
yeah.
you explain to
If you
me
think
how
I
that
got you, you
happens?
don't. Well, it's very simple. Okay. Inherent within the genome of various kinds, there is unexpressed information, and only a portion of it, certain characteristics, will be expressed at a time. Do you know the difference between a genotype and the phenotype?
Please elaborate for the rest
So
of
you've
the
never heard of that?
crew, for the rest of the
Sophistry.
audience.
This is what
Yes,
Darth
let's go.
Dawkins does all the time. Sophistry.
Yeah, all right. Like, tell us,
How is that
enlighten
sophistry?
us.
How is that
Oh, you don't know,
sophistry?
so you don't know, so you lose the argument. No, that's not how it works.
Okay, one more time. How? Oh, it's you again. You're back again. I just looked a note on your thing. Okay, so be specific as to how I'm guilty of sophistry. Let's see who the sophist is.
You always use terms that other people might not
Okay,
know.
hold on a
Then
second. Hold on a second. Come closer to your microphone. If
you're always using
would
terms
you
that other.
not hold on a second? If we're gonna disagree, I want to be able to hear you clearly. Go ahead.
You're always using terms that other people might not know and using it in contexts that they might not understand and then claiming that they're dumb or they lost the argument because they don't know what you mean.
That's false. I call people dumb when they refuse to listen to me to explain things to them. That's why I call them dumb. They're willfully dumb. So
So
you are
why don't you
incorrect.
explain it?
Why are you over talking me? I let you make your accusation. I'm responding to you. After I get done, if you want to make further criticism, you're more than welcome to. Now, I call them dumb when they put it on full display, when they refuse to even listen to an explanation. Okay? So go ahead.
Yeah, so why don't you explain it? Go ahead.
Whenever somebody says to me, I don't know what you mean by this or that, I always attempt to explain it. Now, you still haven't explained how I'm guilty of sophistry. What is
I've known you
sophistry?
from
What
I've,
is sophistry?
I have known you from 2 years ago when
Okay,
you've been using
did I just ask
esoteric.
you a question?
You've been
Did I
using
just ask
esoteric.
you?
I'm
Listen,
answering the
do you want me to
question.
mute you? Do you want me to mute you?
I'm
Are you
answering
going
the
to conduct
question.
listen, last warning. Are you going to conduct yourself like an adult?
So when I try to answer the question,
All
you
right,
overtalk.
okay, last warning. Last warning. I'm more than willing to listen to your criticisms, okay? Fucktard. But if you're not going to conduct yourself like an adult, I will server mute you. Do you understand?
Well, sorry, Darth, but he
Be
was
quiet,
actually trying to
please. Be
answer the
quiet, please.
question.
Be quiet, please. I don't need your help. So, Birds, are you going to conduct yourself like an adult?
Yes, I said
Good,
when you use
good.
esoteric.
Now, I heard that
Oh
already.
my God.
I heard that already. Yeah, listen to me. You're probably so accustomed to being a loose cannon, you're not even aware that you're a loose cannon. Now, I'll tell you one more last time. If you don't conduct yourself like an adult, you're going to be server muted. I'm going to give you the red badge of courage. Now, I asked you a question.
This is not a debate. You're not
Okay,
answering.
listen.
You're
Listen
not
to
listening
me.
to me.
I will listen to you. Okay. Wow, you're so oblivious to your own persona. You haven't changed since the last time I talked with you at all. Now, I asked you a question. What is sophistry?
You have been using esoteric terms, which is sophistry, and then when people don't know what you mean, you claim that they're dumb or that you've won the argument.
What is sophistry?
I've just explained to you what it is.
No, that is not what sophistry is.
Well, this is my definition of sophistry.
Oh, so now you're using proprietary terms. Is that correct?
Yes, this is my definition.
So guess what? You have just fucked yourself because you just did what you just accused me of. That you're using. I'm using terms that that you define yourself. You said I'm using terms that only I understand. But you just told me that now you're using a term. Wait a minute. You just condemned yourself. Did you not use the word sophistry in a unique way, the way you defined it, rather than the standard definition?
This is not an
No.
interview. Yes, I did. However,
Okay, good.
no,
So
let me
you're now
finish. However, unlike you, I
no.
explained what I mean, and
Listen to
unlike
me
you,
carefully. No, sir.
I never said I won the argument.
Okay, I'm gonna last warning. Okay, I should have server muted your dumb ass because you're bickering again. Now, you just did. If okay, you're gone. Okay, gone. Open mic. Now, listen to me. You are now using a term in an esoteric way, but you didn't explain it until I insisted that you did. So you're guilty of the very thing you're accusing me of. Okay? So sophistry is not simply using terms that may be unknown to the listener. That is not the definition of sophistry. So you're admitting that you're using a non-standard meaning for sophistry, and it's esoteric because it's proprietary to you. So you are guilty of the very thing you accuse me of.
I'm sorry, but I don't do semantic debates. Yes, it is proprietary. I agree with you.
Hey, dude, did you just use a term that was esoteric?
I use something proprietary, but I do think it's the normal definition.
If you don't start answering my direct question, you're going to be
I
done.
am answering you.
Listen,
chill.
goodbye. You're such a dumbass.
Thank you.
You're such a dumbass.
How do I do that?
Darth, can we go back at the debate time
in a second?
Question round?
He's such a dumbass. Okay, that's strike two. I'm going to mute your microphone. Oh, and he leaves. What a moron. He says, I'm guilty of sophistry. Then I said, what? How am I guilty of sophistry? Oh, well, you're using terms that are esoteric. In other words, there are terms that I have defined in such a unique way that the other person is not accustomed to or aware of. But then when I asked him, what is sophistry, right? He gives an esoteric definition of it, which is not a standard one. The guy just shot himself in the foot.
Okay.
Would nuance have been a better word than esoteric?
No. Sophistry has to do with using cleverly sounding arguments, okay? Now, if somebody is purposely using terminology that he knows that the hearers for certain aren't going to understand, then you could say that's double talk. That's not why I use certain terms. If I use any term and somebody says, "Could you tell me what that is?" I ask them. When people use terms that I haven't heard before, I immediately say, "Could you tell me what that is?"
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
But
Darth,
one more thing. Okay.
sure.
So I've dealt with this guy in the past. He's as unhinged as he was a couple years ago.
Okay. So Darth, you were trying to explain something about genome. We were talking about black bears, right?
Yes. Okay.
Yes. So would you please
when it
enlighten
comes,
us?
I'm trying to answer you. Okay.
Nice.
So that we know that in the genotype there can be varying degrees of hold on a second. There can be varying degrees or levels of unexpressed genetic information that makes its way into the phenotype, which is the actual physical characteristics. Okay. There are certain things that are turned on and turned off. Okay.
Okay.
Now, it can very well be that in terms of, like, for example, inherent within the human genome, within Adam and Eve, there's a variety of genetic information and then would eventually be expressed through uh, many levels of reproduction. And so then finally we get people who are light skinned, dark skinned, sometimes red skin, people with different shaped eyes, color hair. And then as these things get expressed, or this information is turned on or becomes dominant, and then there is further reproduction, it can become dominant in terms of Mendelian genetics. So
So
the same thing can be true. Like, for example, did you ever hear about the black couple who gave birth to a white baby?
that is that can happen. That's because
Right, because
it's
there's
like gingers, for example. Like back in the
It's worse than
family
that.
tree.
It's worse than that. Okay, it's because there was unexpressed information or information that was either dormant, or I'm trying to remember what's the opposite of dominant. It's recessive. Okay. The fact of the matter is there can be dormant, unexpressed, or recessive information that in reproduction in a given population of an organism, that it's called they can refer to it as what is genetic drift. Okay.
Well,
And then
so
certain
Darth,
traits can be reinforced. So here's the problem. The problem that you're proposing is not a problem at all. Okay, so what we have is God in the original creation, placed within various kinds of animals, more information that is expressed in the phenotype, but is inherent within the genotype. And then by the time we come to the point where Noah brings animals on the ark, he wouldn't have to bring every species of bear that live on the planet right now. Okay, all he would need to take is a couple of bears, okay, who had the various traits in the phenotype that through successive reproduction and what they call population genetics and genetic drift, where the unexpressed information becomes expressed and then becomes dominant in reproduction.
but Darth, can I answer?
So do you
One of the things
understand?
you bring up.
Have you ever heard of the speciation within a creationist model?
No, but can I
Okay.
answer the
Yeah.
things you've put
So the
through,
number
right?
of species, Noah
Yeah.
wouldn't need to bring all the land species animals that we have today. Okay.
Yeah. So Darth, what you said about the black couple, I can reinforce that argument with, for example, gingers, right? Say if you have a kid, right, and it turned out to be a ginger, but neither you or your wife or your grandparents or hers were gingers, but one of your great grandfather was ginger, and that can go through the generations. It's like diseases; you can inherit that, even though it was from your great grandfather. So it is true, absolutely. But I searched up how many species and it's 8.7 million species, which
Does that include?
scientists have.
Does that include all of the sea creatures?
I'm coming to it. So this is by National Geographic in 2019. Scientists have estimated that there are around 8.7 million species of plants and animals in existence. However, only 1.2 million species have been identified and described so far, most of which are insects. So then that begs the question, Darth. What you're describing is kind of like a rapid evolution of Darwinism, I would say, of what
No,
I've interpreted.
no.
What
Have you
I
even
have
have you
interpreted.
have you even read even one article from places like Answers in Genesis or Creation.com by where they explain this alleged problem? Have you even read one article on the opposite side?
What I have, I'm taking the problem I've had.
So the answer is
To answer your question,
hey,
no,
hey,
I have
fuck,
not.
okay, good.
But
Listen,
I'm
when
talking
I
and you're
ask you, okay, you
interrupting
gonna
me.
overtalk me?
Darth,
Listen,
you're doing the same
goodbye,
thing.
goodbye. Hit the road, Jack. Where do they grow these people?
All right. Can we go back to the original conversation then?
Sure.
Okay. So, okay, I'm gonna be honest. I forget where we left off because everybody was talking. But I'm gonna pivot less from dinosaurs now and talk about the actual Great Flood theory itself. And I just want to ask you, like, a simple question. Do you think right now there's enough water on the planet to flood every single continent and every single landmass?
Okay. This is an objection that people raise all the time, and they don't realize how bad it is. Okay. Are you under the impression that the flooding of all the continents would mean that water would be covering the earth and water reaching its own level, that water everywhere across the earth, above the continents and the seas, would be at the same level?
What do you mean by that? Do you mean that everything's at the same, like, altitude? Because
Okay. So for example, let's say let's say that the average land area is, let's say, let's just say, for the sake of argument, hold on a second. Sorry, I had a problem with a dog.
that's fine.
Let's just say, just for the sake of argument, that the average level of the land is 50 feet above sea level. Okay.
Okay.
Do you think that the water table, when all the continents were flooded, would have to be at the same height everywhere, including over the oceans?
Yes. If
No.
the entire planet was to flood,
You're not.
then there would have to be enough enough water to flood.
You're not understanding the nature of the flood. Okay.
Explain it then.
Yeah. Let me try to explain to you the problem here. Okay. That is not the. That's an amateur's approach to the flood model. Okay. Now,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that the flooding of the planet just simply came from rain?
Well, I don't know.
Okay, so most creationists you will find who have far greater expertise than I do have the following model is that the Bible says it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. But this was probably symptomatic of what was happening in terms of the catastrophic upheaval of the earth. That God was using plate tectonics, okay, to separate the continents, and as a result of numerous, it says the fountains of the deep erupted. Now, many people think that the fountains of the deep simply means water. It doesn't have to refer to water. It can refer to subterranean lava flows, okay,
Mm-hmm.
which would be indicative of geological upheaval and rapid plate tectonics rather than plate tectonics happening over billions or billions of years. So
Okay.
from that, we would have numerous massive recurrent tsunamis, unlike the world has ever seen before, right?
Mhm.
And what it would do is floodwaters would spill over onto the continents of either side where they're surrounded by waters. And because water will seek its own level, okay,
Mhm.
it will flood onto the land. And as more water comes in, it will reach its own level until it's drained from the continents. Okay. So,
Okay.
all right, I have to step away. Hold on.